Good morning, and it's crafting time, folks. How have you been? We're going to do a little something different. We're going to actually make a birdseed wreath. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take this bump pan you can get at the library, and we are going to take saran wrap. Now, you could also spray this, but that's okay if you don't. Saran wrap helps bring it out too, because once it's all set, we're going to have to pop it out of the pan. If you do this particular project and you don't have a bundt pan, or the bundt pan is not available at the library, someone already checked it out, you can go ahead and use like a cake pan with a small like dipping bowl in the middle. I've done that before. It works out just fine. So there's some alternatives there. And saran wrap, if you're going to give it to somebody, helps keep it nice for whomever you're giving it to, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to take dried fruit. Whatever fruit you've got on hand, there's no pickiness about it. Birds will eat anything. They'll eat apricots, raisins, craisins, cranberries. If you've got cranberries left over somewhere, whatever. These are raisins that I have. I'm just going to scatter them a little bit in here. Now I also have apricots. Apricots, don't use them as whole because it's harder for the birds to eat, and it helps mix up the colors. See, I've diced them up in quarters. And we're just going to put them in the pan like so. Now, it's kind of important to me for the birds to eat this time of year because they're having a harder time to scavenge for their food, okay? So right now we're going to leave this alone for a moment. And I've got 4 cups of birdseed. We will provide the birdseed. We will supply the pan. You just come check it out at the library. We will also supply the sure gel you're going to need. The fruit is kind of a nicety. It's not a necessity for the wreath, but if you have some, it's nice to put in there for the birds. They really need more of the fat content during winter. They need to fluff out and keep warm during the winter, and this is how they do it. And we will also provide the cornstarch for you. And we're going to need a small bowl, and we're going to put the sure gel or the pectin in the bowl. And this is basically our glue. And it calls for a box and a half. Well, that's equivalent to 2/3 cup of pectin. And now we're going to put in the second envelope of pectin. And we're going to need a 1/2 cup of hot water. It can be warmed up in the microwave. I have a tea kettle and I warm it up through the tea kettle. And as you can hear, our water is hot enough. Sorry about the camera mix-up because new location, hard to deal with sometimes. The camera personnel is lacking. So we're going to do 1/2 cup of hot water. And it's going to dissolve this. And I use a fork myself. Just whisk it in. Once it's all dissolved, then we want to add the cornstarch. You're basically making a homemade glue. It's edible. It's safe for the birds. I wouldn't recommend eating it, but it's basically what you're doing. Now we're adding the cornstarch, which is a 1/3 cup. Now, I have everything done ahead of time, per se, for the ingredients, just because it's a lot easier to tell you how much it is and have it prepped on hand. I will warn you offhand, you're not seeing it on the camera, but it's a mess. it makes it messy. That's why I'm wearing an apron. And in fact, if you look at it inside, it looks like glue. And this is where I'm going to have to get the spoon out because there's clumps in it. Obviously, cornstarch is clumpy. It's used to make gravy. And you got clumps in gravy a lot of times. And the spoon helps smush those little balls of clumps. I mean, it's not, you don't have to have it perfect. It just does a better job gluing it. I'm going to actually remove the fork. We're done whisking. But we're trying to smush those clumpies out. Now the only things you're really going to have to supply is the saran wrap and the Pam. And if you wanted to do the fruit just makes it look pretty. And now we're going to take the 4 cups of birdseed here. And reason why I'm saying you're going to need Pam is you're going to need a spoon like this, a wooden spoon, to both stir it in and press it. So the Pam will help keep it from sticking to the spoon. Is it necessary? Not really. Does it make it easier? Yes, it does. I do the same thing for peanut butter. All right. So we're going to pour our glue into our birdseed. And this is why I left the spoon, because it's easier to scoop all the glue into the birdseed. Now, I'm not saying go get paper glue and pour it in. That's not the whole idea. That's not edible. This is a safe edible type of glue for the birds. Now, I love watching birds, and honestly, sometimes I have a hard time figuring out what kind of bird is that. If you have any questions about what kind of birds, we have wonderful books at the library. They're even categorized as to if they're migratory birds, which if it's in the middle of winter, you can exclude that. If it's a falcon, you know, geese, ducks are all in their own separate area. It helps you find what kind of bird is that. Now, I've seen some very different birds that are unusual for the area just by feeding them on a regular basis. One time it was after a storm, and I saw a western mountain bluebird. They are not native to this area, but there was a storm, and it was right during their migratory path. So they got blown off course, and that's kind of the reason why I get into the bird watching. You never know what kind of birds. I have some woodpeckers that come on a regular basis, which this has nuts in it. Woodpeckers love nuts. They love the seeds, but they love their nuts. Okay, so now we're going to take the bird seed and the glue, and we're going to put it in the pan. Get all in there. Try to get them evenly placed here. Ooh, found a big clump there. Now, you're thinking, oh, this is so fast. Well, you gotta let it dry also. I put it in my enclosed porch. It's kind of like a walk-in cooler. But you can also put it in the fridge. It takes about, they say 12 to 24 hours for it to set. Get all that seed in there. Birds need it more than my sink does. You want to get it all pressed down in there. That will help pack it together, keep it together nice and tight. Gotta wash my hands off real quick. That glue sticks, I tell you what. It works. And this is what's going to look like. You're going to take this and put it in the cooler, freezer, porch, whatever, to set it up for about 12 to 24 hours. I did mine for 24 hours, and I'll show you what it winds up looking like. Ta-ta! It's like a bird cake. Now the last part would be to put a ribbon around this. This is going to be for display, so I'm not going to put the ribbon around it yet. But I'll show you how you can do the ribbon. So I've got this ribbon. It's about a foot and a half or so. And I'm going to double the strength by folding it in half. You'll have to forgive the mess that's on the table here. And I'm going to tie it into a circle. You could either tie it like this, but I'll show you a special way, tying it around the wreath, that is. This is how I'm going to do it. Got like a little circle here. You can take it and tie it around your wreath, or let's see if I can show you how to do it. Okay, sorry. I need both hands to do that. And this is how it's going to look hanging it up. Now, I got to be careful with this one. He just decided to break, so you do have to make sure it's fully set up. For the most part, it was, but when it popped out, you can see the crack right there. That might happen. It happens every once in a while. But otherwise, that is our birdseed wreath. Until next time, and like I said, you can pick up all the supplies here at the library.